The valley had turned into a coffin. 380 Navy SEAL pressed against the rock, their backs slick with sweat, their rifles clutched in hands that shook from exhaustion more than fear. The ridgelines that loomed above them spat death in every direction. Bullets struck stone and earth with merciless rhythm, and the ground erupted with dust so thick it stung the eyes and burned the throat. They were surrounded, a circle tightening with every second. Men who had never once spoken of defeat now carried it silently in their eyes. The commander saw it too. He crouched low, heart hammering, knowing that if he could not find a way out, the men under his charge would never leave this valley alive. Extraction was impossible. Ammunition was bleeding away. Hope itself seemed to have abandoned them. And yet, high above on the northern ridge, a figure lay motionless among stone and snow. She was barely a shape, her body melded with the mountain itself, her rifle an extension of her breath. She had been watching long before the trap closed, waiting in silence while the SEAL marched into the jaws of death. Now her finger rested on the trigger, her heartbeat steady. Her eyes locked through the scope. Her name was Evelyn Kane. To the world she no longer existed. To the men who had once fought beside her, she was a ghost whispered about in low voices, a legend no one could prove but everyone wanted to believe. Years earlier, Evelyn had been one of the Navy's most decorated snipers. Her record was untouchable, precision so absolute it seemed almost unnatural. But Evelyn was not forged from glory. She was carved from loss. Her unit, her family and all but blood, had been slaughtered in an ambush no one saw coming. She had lived through it, not by skill or luck, but because fate had deemed her to crawl out of the wreckage alone. From that day forward, she carried their silence inside her. She left the service quietly, disappearing into wilderness and rumor. What no one knew was that Evelyn never truly left the war. She moved with the wind across mountains and deserts, unseen but watching, forever searching for the moment when she could do for others what she had not been able to do for her brothers. Save them from the fate she carried in her sleep. Down in the valley, the commander pressed his hand against the dirt, feeling the tremors of enemy boots shifting closer. His men were pinned, minutes away from annihilation, and then it came, a sound sharp, final, different from the rest. One shot from above. A man on the ridgeline collapsed instantly, lifeless before his body even hit the rocks. The SEAL froze. That was no ordinary bullet. It had cut through chaos with surgical purpose. Another shot followed, and another. Enemy fighters toppled in confusion, their cries breaking the rhythm of the assault. They tried to locate the phantom shooter, but each time they moved, another fell. Hope flickered. The commander lifted his eyes to the northern ridge, his throat tightening. Someone was out there. Someone who knew them, who fought for them without asking for recognition or return. Evelyn did not move. Her body was one with the rock, her face pressed against the scope, her hands calm despite the storm of memory inside her. She whispered the names of the men she had lost with every pull of the trigger, as though each shot was a promise to them. One by one, she dismantled the noose closing around the SEAL. The enemy faltered. Panic rippled in their lines. This had not been part of their plan. They had counted every gun, every man, every shadow in the valley. But they had not counted her. She was a ghost of the ridges, a punishment they had not foreseen. The SEALs seized the moment. Their rifles barked in unison, their shouts carried weight again. For the first time in hours, they did not sound like men awaiting death. They sounded like warriors rising. Evelyn shifted slowly, her cheek against cold metal, her eyes never leaving the scope. She had waited years for this, the moment when silence could roar. Her words, though unspoken, etched themselves into the mountain air. Honor is not spoken, it is lived. Sacrifice is not chosen, it is carried. And silence, when it saves lives, roars louder than any battle cry. The battle turned. The enemy scrambled, their ranks shredded by the unseen hand of death from above. They fired wildly into the ridges, but Evelyn was gone before their bullets could bite. She had already shifted, already melted into another hollow of stone. Another blind corner they could not reach. As dusk settled, the valley belonged to the SEAL once more. The enemy retreated, broken not by numbers, but by fear. Fear of the ghost they could not kill. the sniper they could not find. The seal gathered, bloodied but alive. They looked to the ridge where the shots had come from, but there was only silence. The commander bowed his head once, in reverence. He did not need a name. He knew that whoever had stood above them had done so, not for recognition, but for duty. Some debts were too sacred to chase. High above, Evelyn pulled back from her scope. The rifle was heavy, but the memories heavier. Her hands trembled slightly as she packed it away. She had done what she came to do, given them what she could never give her own unit: life. She pressed her back to the rock, eyes closed, the mountain cradling her like it always had. Alone, unseen, unthanked, she let the silence return. But deep inside, a warmth glowed through the cracks of her grief. For the first time in years, Evelyn felt something more than loss. She felt purpose fulfilled. She had kept her promise. The seal would tell their story in whispers, passing it from barracks to bars to family tables. They would not know her name, but they would remember the day the mountain spoke for them. And Evelyn would move on, vanishing into another shadow, another ridge, waiting for the next moment where silence could change fate. The legend of the hidden sniper would grow, not as a tale of glory, but as a reminder that even in the darkest traps, even when the world seems to close every path, there are those who carry the weight for others. Those whose strength is not in medals or applause, but in the quiet dignity of unseen sacrifice. And when the wind swept across the valley that night, it carried with it a truth Evelyn had lived her whole life to prove. Sometimes the most powerful warriors are not the ones we see, but the ones we never do. Now, if you're listening to this story, take a moment to think of the silent protectors in your own life. The ones who give without asking, who shield without praise. Tell us where you're watching from, and share your thoughts below. And if stories like Evelyn's matter to you, subscribe, because there are more untold tales waiting to honor the heroes who walk in silence.